In a world where polio is rampant and TVs are yet to be installed in hospitals, one woman, Eleanor Abbott, sought to be entertained. With nothing but butcher paper and a pencil, Abbott gave children with polio a chance to take a walk for the first time in a very long time. Today, we are reviewing the backbone of board games, a staple since 1948, possibly your first board game and definitely mine, Candy Land. Welcome to Dancing with the Bards, a board game and TTRPG review podcast with your hosts, Brooke,
Ian,
Will,
and our special guest,
Rishi.
So I made you do this, and I'm not sorry about it. This is one of my favorite geeky games.
this is actually a lot of fun. I'm glad that I got roped into this.
I was roped into it. That's true.
I mean, this is the cross you have to bear when you run a podcast.
No. I mean, it's only fair. We've done a bunch of stuff I wanted to do. I wouldn't take that from everyone else. And it was this or die from the Pokemon drinking game. So
we're still doing that. Like that's coming down the line.
Seriously.
We need at least. The only reason I'm saying we got to do it soon is because eventually you guys are really not going to be able to.
Yeah.
But
I'm already there.
Yeah,
No, you're not.
We're really straddling that line right now.
That's why we got to get it done. The people need to know.
The people don't need
They
to
don't.
see us in that state. And then how are we going to
Record after, yeah.
We're going to take notes and just relive it later, and then you guys can complain all you want, and I will just be over here showering the game with praise.
I'm happy to relive it now.
Why are we doing this to poor Eleanor Abbott? I mean, it was just Women's Month. Can we get back to how cool she
Yeah,
was?
I apologize.
So I was telling everyone off our recording, that this game was actually, it was printed not necessarily on purpose, like it just kind of snuck into print for Mattel. Originally they had a different game that was going to be put forward instead of Candyland, and because of some back-end issues, we now have one of the most popular board games, or at least most widely accessible ones.
Yeah, I'd say probably one of the most well-known board games in America.
There were 50 million copies sold. Sorry, I did a lot of research for this. It's all stuck in my head now.
So should we jump in with number of players?
Either that or I'm going to keep going with facts.
Yeah, no.
Probably.
All right. We'll save some of them for later.
Sure.
Gonna sprinkle them in?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at, I think, 2 to 4 players per game. I gave it a 3. I think for a lot of this, I'll say off the top, this is going to be 3 in systems for me. It's so straightforward. There's not a lot to comment on for the system.
I gave it a 2 on this one, just because when we were playing with the max amount, we were playing with 4, and there were definitely times where it bogged a bit because there were 4 players. Like either someone forgot they were going, or like the board was crowded and you were landing on the same space. Like when you got to 4, it was a little dicey.
Fair. We did also insert a house rule in there that may have changed things a little.
You still salty about that house rule, Will?
No.
You're not salty about like taking 3 different times to get last place.
It hurts a little, but I think we can all learn and grow from it.
Yeah.
I've learned that I cannot win legally.
Keep going back to Ice Cream Commons.
Cupcake Commons.
Oh, sorry, Cupcake Commons.
I can't afford the Popsicle Palace.
Popsicle sticks, maybe.
Yeah.
It's way out of budget.
Only the one that gives you splinters.
Yeah.
So for number of players, I gave it a 3. I think this is a solid game. 4 people. I don't think the bog is as egregious as other games, especially seeing as there's very little to keep track of. I feel like as long as the deck is being passed around, it kept pace. The second it got put down, we started talking. We forgot about what was going on, and I think at one point Ian lost track of whose turn it was or who went.
That happened several times, but
Yeah.
I'll get to that in real play.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'd give it a 3. I think the 4-person count's a lot of fun. And if anyone else wants to participate, I feel like it's just as fun to watch when it comes to something like Candyland. So, yeah, that was me.
Going on to inclusivity.
Yeah.
We did something different here, or at least I did quickly. I took an app called Colorblind Pound and just threw it over the game with several different colorblindness variations, just to see if the values were in line. And I gave it a 3 just based on that, because that was the one thing that we all thought was going to be the biggest issue, was not being able to differentiate colors. Because it is a bone easy game. Like, it's very simple. The rules are simple. We were worried about how the colors were against the background. And it's a very busy board, but even with that, you could tell where things were very easily.
Yeah, there's not a lot to critique here, and so I will say I'm not the kind of person who normally enjoys this kind of thing. But there's not a lot to critique because there's not a lot of substance there.
This is true. What are you talking about? There's lore on the box. You can read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm sure for lore and stuff it's very good, but I'm talking about like for gameplay, and it's intentional. I realize that it's meant for children of a very young age, which is why it is relatively inclusive for everyone.
Well, that's why I looked at it with the color blindness. That's the only thing I could think of that would cause any problems. Would be possibly like an oversight on value.
Right. Yeah, they handled that.
They've had a couple of years to nail this out.
A little bit.
But it's not like it's an uncommon problem.
Oh yeah.
It's something we bring up for almost every board game we do at this point.
Yeah, especially there wasn't there one like maybe not last episode, but the episode before, where there were 2 colors that were very close together and it was hard to see the difference.
It comes
It was
up
a
a
little
lot.
spaceshipy one.
Oh, the Cosmic Encounter.
Yeah, didn't we have an issue with Cosmic Encounter with that?
Little-
We brought it up the same for the same
Okay.
reason.
Me
Yeah.
and Ace played very similar colors.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still getting used to all this. Inclusivity. I thought it was the most straightforward, fun game. I never played Candyland up until this point. That's right, this is my first time ever playing it, as weird as it sounds, coming from an adult male of my age. But it was easy. As long as you know how to count and orient yourself in a certain direction, that's all you really need. And that's kind of cool that a game can just be played so simply and awesomely.
It's not even just count, it's only count to 2. Can you count to 2?
Exactly.
And can you match pictures?
See, this is a little off topic, but I can see why it would be your first time playing. I'm kind of in the same boat. If it weren't for the fact that they had this at like all the after school clubs my parents sent me to.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask that. Like, did you go to like preschool, or did you have like an after school program, or?
I did, but I think if we go down that conversation for me, we're going to start talking about how I didn't have friends back then to play board games with. So I think yeah.
But like when I was at home, my parents didn't do games like this because they couldn't stay engaged.
Right.
So they would rather try to walk me through Monopoly than have me play Chutes and Ladders or Candyland with them, or like. They'll give me cards for Apples to Apples, and they'll say, well, we'll help you play it. Because they wanted to do that,
Yeah.
and they were able to stay engaged. And I was engaged for the most part. I learned how to read pretty quick. I didn't have any issues with that kind of stuff. I like to think I was a smart cookie as a child, and I've since blissed my brains with alcohol and drugs. So
We all have. Yeah. Right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, no, my grandparents played with this with me for like a couple years straight. I was very much a Candyland kid, and I would even use the board to play pretend by myself because I did not have many friends and did not have any siblings. So I would just like sit there with the pieces and come up with little stories for the different lands.
yeah, but Connect 4 and Man Bites Dog were one of the things we played together, like these kinds of games.
And this and a lot of puzzles.
Anybody else remember Don't Break the Ice?
Yeah, we had that too.
Oh, we had that for the Super Soft. Remember?
Yeah.
So for one of the Super
For
Softs.
Max's.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I just got rid of that game.
What? This is sad.
Context, we do one super soft birthday party based on the show Letterkenny every year for one friend.
Yeah, just it saves on birthday parties. You only have
Yeah.
one to deal with.
You just go all out on one big one, and then
Yeah.
just do small celebrations for everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's honestly a very good system if you're trying to figure out how to navigate parties as an adult.
Yeah. All right. So I think moving on to comprehension. Once again, you pull a card, you move that spot.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of us, Rishi apparently excluded. This is the first board game we learned how to play.
Land on a licorice spot, you lose your turn.
Yeah, that was the only one that I had forgotten.
That's the most
honestly.
complex thing about this game.
Yep, and I forgot it.
I rules Lord Candy Land on stream.
Yeah.
I have friends that'd be very proud of me.
Yeah, no, definitely saying this to that person later.
Yeah.
Shoot him a text. He's not already at your house, let's be honest. So, or did we all get, I gave a 3 for comprehension.
Yeah,
I think we
Are there-
all gave 3s
Okay.
in this section.
I just want to talk about availability because this is ridiculous how easy you can find this. If it's not minus the fact I did get a very specific copy, so it cost me a whopping $17.25.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, that's on the higher end, honestly. So I wanted a specific version that had the Licorice King in a very handsome portrayal, because I think they did him dirty the first couple times. He's now very muscular in this edition. This is also the controversial edition where parents didn't want to buy this one. Either way, it's like $8 at Kohl's.
He's got Robbie Rotten vibes from
He really does. But it's like $8 at Kohl's. Super easy to get. You can get it at thrift shops. You can get it at tag sales. You can get it after school programs. It's everywhere.
Candyland is the herpes board game.
It is. It's like glitter. It's
It's
everywhere.
glitter is a much more family friendly.
Family-friendly herpes.
Yeah.
I
I mean, glitter is the herpes of the arts and crafts
It
world.
really is. It's
That's
relegated
everywhere.
to one cabinet, and I don't touch it.
One kid
We
has
have so
herpes,
much.
he just brings it everywhere.
Oh my
I mean, glitter.
know there was some Law and Order episode where they're we can tell what crime this is based on where the glitter was manufactured because it gets everywhere.
And it's very specific. It's
And I'm sure Ice-T said something funny.
so availability. I gave it a 3.
Yeah, 3 for me.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Trace.
The materials are surprisingly amazing.
This may be a new gold standard for materials.
I'm on it again. Once again, you're right. It's a 3. As I said before, it's a 3 across the board for me in system. I'm not surprised by it though. A lot of games like this have more a more durable plastic. They have more durable parts because it's meant to be used by kids, and they don't know how to take care of things.
This is true. I was a little surprised at the card quality because it's very standard. What do you call it? Cardstock, but it's not even nothing's put on top of it, so it's not going to be. That's the only part that's going to destroy itself. But the minis are amazing, and they high five each other.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's so
If you hit
cute.
certain parts of the map at the same time, they give little high fives. They keep moving. It just made me very happy, considering some of them that we've had.
Yeah, so some of the games make us less happy.
I think the only other one that I've been these minis are amazing, was the one that I keep on calling Stuffed Fables. I keep on wanting to call it Slumber Party, and that is not the name.
I mean, you were really happy with the minis and Cosmic Encounter too.
I did. I geeked out over those two. I do like minis, but quality-wise, I was, you're right. You're right, because that one didn't have flashing on it.
Those are the
I
ones with
take
the,
it back.
the stackable minis.
Yeah, the stackable minis, but I was more just fascinated with the fact that you couldn't find the flashing on where the mold came together.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has any gripes about materials on this.
Yeah.
No, not at all. They high five
It's-
each other.
It's meant to be the kind of game where it gets food and junk on it, and you could just wipe it off. That's
Stepped on
ideally.
once or twice.
None
Yeah.
of us actually bit it, but I'm pretty sure it could survive a bite test.
Especially from a 3-year-old.
Oh yeah,
Oh, those are hard bites.
those are the
The
real
tiny
bites.
teeth.
Very sharp.
The little sharp teeth. Gremlins.
So, moving into gameplay then for setup. Once again,
3.
yeah,
There's no setup.
there is no setup. You
Take it
gotta
out of
shuffle
the
some
box.
cards.
Maybe, but the box will do that itself when it shuffles around.
Yeah, I've never seen a game of Candyland where the cards are organized. Usually they're dumped all over the place. And
Some are facing the wrong way.
Yeah, half of the game is like organizing the cards.
Yeah, well, I mean, this one too, this version was nice. It had a cover on the top of it, which I don't remember being in my copy, that like you put the cards on the bottom and then put that on top.
Oh.
So that if it was to fall, it's more likely not to get like everywhere. So it was like a little guard for spills.
That's smart. Okay.
So you could just stick the cards in there and shuffle them around by just shaking the box. But,
So we should play the game going forward.
I mean, I'm down.
Chaos theory.
Chaos theory.
That would take care of your gripe with the game. You were talking about disliking that once you shuffle the cards, you're set in stone.
Yeah, I was gonna cover that in Ready to Play next too.
There we go. Go for it.
Yeah, so my biggest issue with games like this, and it's not just Candyland. I brought up during the stream, if anyone's ever played the game War with the playing cards, once you shuffle the deck, whatever's going to happen next is pretty much set to happen. Mm-hmm. The only time that ever changes is if someone messes up. But it's not like there's no... You don't have the power to change the outcome on your own. And that, for me, makes the game a lot less enjoyable. There's nothing I can do to increase my ability to win. It's all just random chance. And I think that that's great for kids, which is why I gave it a 2 for Ready to Play instead of 3, because I am not the general audience. I don't have children who I need to keep quiet for 20 minutes, and I am not a child who needs something to do for 20 minutes. But at the same time, judging this from my perspective, I personally don't find that enjoyable, and I don't think I ever did. I didn't really enjoy Candyland as a kid either, for the same reason.
That's fair.
I don't know. I like the fact that it's like, thrown to fate. I don't know. There's just an appeal about it.
Well, I think it's just 2 different types of people. I mean, I read tarot cards, which is the same idea of just like you're shuffling it, but once you're done, they're stuck in those same positions. It's just what you flip over. It just depends on if you like fate having control over you, or if you like to be the one controlling it.
This gets turned into a very deep philosophical conversation.
I was about to say, we're talking about Candy.
Yeah, Candyland.
I told you this game is amazing.
I would like to throw out that the fates have conspired against me. Not once, not twice, but a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. Like, you looked like you were going to win, and you just did not pull a single card that you needed.
Just needed one.
You sat at the finish line for half that game, and then were sent all the way back to start.
Multiple
Twice. 3
Yeah.
times.
3. Yeah.
So for price, this is $8. Like, if you just buy it as a copy, it's $8. If you want to get fancy, there is a $39.95 version, which is the vintage setup, and it's in what they call a bookshelf case. So it looks like a book.
Oh, that's neat.
That's pretty cool.
But it does go anywhere from $8 to $39. You can't really beat the price. I mean, if you were to go and buy minis,
Yeah, I don't.
just like a standard random mini from a game shop, it'd be that.
I believe. Let's see.
Oh, we're getting out a receipt.
No, this is a mini. I don't have a price on it,
Oh.
but that's probably about what this would cost.
Yeah, like 5 to 8, depending on the size of the mini.
Oh yeah. No, I mean the price for this game it's everybody should own this. I don't care if you don't need it. You should just have it. It's like
Ian does not look like he agrees at all.
it's like bottled water. It's just always good to have around.
I think it's something that you should have around if you expect to have kids around.
I mean, even as just like random.
If I had this
random
in my
minis.
house, it would sit there until someone brought a kid over.
See, so for me, even if you just had the box around, they're great minis. So if you were playing a TTRPG and you needed some random squad to come through, what better than 4 brightly colored gingerbread men?
Yeah.
That high five each other.
I mean, it's no worse than that time that I brought Ampomon. Remember I had the gator?
I
Yeah.
remember.
It was a little kid's toy that was Ampomon. but it had a music box in the bottom, so when you pulled it back, it made a little bell sound as it hit the other minis and killed them.
Oh, that's cool.
We used it for some large monster.
It was a
I
gator.
remember. It was a
I
gator?
remember because it was just so ridiculous. It was a giant sewer gator.
Right. I think it killed someone.
It did. That's why we made the noise.
The bear.
Yeah, it killed the bear. We kind of just put the head back and let it make
That's
the
what
noise.
happens when you go off on your own into a dangerous sewer. In
Or
a
just like a
fantasy
sewer in
setting.
general.
I mean,
Don't go alone.
have you seen the sewers in New York City? Gators everywhere.
Especially when you know there's like a serial killer in those sewers.
Yeah, that was a real choice at the time. That was not me, by the way.
No.
I was not the one who did that. I was not a bear.
Anyway, moving on to extras. I gave this a 2 for extras. It doesn't really have any, but I don't really think it necessarily needs them. I think there are definitely ways you could improve on this within the age-appropriate level, and that is on the board there are, I think, 8 different symbols which indicate characters in the game. I think that in the rules section, there should be some optional rules to say, well, if you land on this, you get to go an extra square, or you get to move to another space. I think that those are age appropriate for kids that are maybe like 7 or 8 or 9.
And
That
they need a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah,
a little
so
bit more of a challenge.
Grow with you rules.
So that it's not the kind of, because as I said, even as a kid, I didn't particularly enjoy this. I preferred games that were a little more challenging for me. I can see why this would appeal to people. I'm not trying to be a downer on this. I really am. I'm doing my best. But I think something like that would definitely improve enjoyment for someone who is looking for something a little more challenging and might be playing with their 3-year-old, 4-year-old younger brother.
Yeah.
Speaking of experience here, buddy.
Yeah, I have 2 younger siblings.
No, I gave it a 1 for the same reason. I feel like it's ingrained in a lot of our childhoods. And when we were going over this and you started rules lawyering, I do very clearly remember like the different spots having rules. And like playing with like rules, you land on like the like fudge area, you're stuck just like the licorice, or like
There are 25 different versions.
no,
There's a high possibility that one of them did have
Yeah.
extra rules. I did not check to see if all the rules were the same.
I don't think this is super egregious, but and I did dock some points.
There's even one that comes with a game of memory. So you have memory and Candyland in one.
So you have to remember the colors.
No, it's just it's 2 games in one box, but it's Candyland themed memory.
okay.
It's pretty dope.
Extras.
I gave it 0 for extras. I can't see it needing any more, and I don't think it would improve by any, and there's nothing they can really do with that, so I gave it nothing.
They should add a
I mean, that's why I gave it a 2.
Yeah,
Because I feel the same way, but I feel like it's not something it deserves to be docked points for. It's
That's
just-
fair. Well, that's why you have different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 for extras for me. It just felt like it didn't need it, but if you want to be technical, I guess it just didn't really have any, extras.
Also, I'd like you to just put this out there because random facts. Brooke spent too much time on this. And we were supposed to have an Adam Sandler Candyland movie in 2012 that never happened.
What?
Thank God.
Why?
There was a Candyland movie in 2005 that didn't happen, but there was supposed to be an Adam Sandler one.
Strong feelings about Adam Sandler.
I like Adam Sandler a lot, okay, but he can be very grating and annoying, and knowing the type of movie that they were going to make with that Candyland movie, I just...
If he wasn't Licorice King, I would have rioted.
Adam Sandler as Licorice King? I don't know.
I have Adam Sandler likes his own voice way too much.
Yeah,
That's fair. Although we're all podcasters except
At
for
least-
Rishi, so we have that issue too.
At least when Mel Brooks goes into his own movies, he's like a side role. He's not usually the main character, except for in like High Anxiety, I think he was.
Right.
But yeah,
That's a fair take. Stones and glass houses.
hey, I love Little Nicky. I have my favorite Adam Sandler movie.
We all do.
I like Big Daddy.
Was it 8
Take my
Nights?
Flash.
I was a fan of his Hanukkah cartoon, 8 Nights.
Oh yeah, 8 Crazy
Yeah,
Nights.
that
There was this big bright metal thing.
Wait, is 8 Crazy Nights with the little one that like always talks about going to Florida?
The grandma?
Yeah.
Yes.
Gonna go to Florida.
So, enjoyment.
Oh, I had a blast. 3 out of 3 for me.
I gave it a 1.
I gave
It was the people, not the game.
Ooh.
What did I do? What did I do?
No. I was saying the people made it fun, not
Oh.
the game.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Mr. Defensive. The people was what made it. The game in itself, it's a kid's game. I'm not a kid anymore most of the time.
I gave it a 1 for the same reason. I always have fun with you guys, so I was laughing along and I'm doing my best to participate and have a good time because I can have a good time doing just about anything. I'm not very picky, but this is not something that I particularly enjoy.
I gave it 2. I enjoyed playing it with these people. Good people.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
You just misinterpreted what I said. That's all.
Why are you gonna make everything personal? All right, you know what? No, we're gonna
Good people
stop
except
the
for
review.
Ian. That's what I'm getting.
This is we're gonna turn this into a therapy podcast. Ian, why are you so defensive right
I just think you guys don't like me very much.
That's quite the opposite.
I know. I'm great.
now? Yeah, you're the best.
You're pretty dope, dude.
I know.
Yeah, every compliment just.
Yes, well. Meanwhile, that little voice in the back of my head is like, they don't mean it. They're just saying it for the podcast.
I mean, we are.
At least they have a snappy voice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. They're very snarky.
That being said, though, I would recommend this to just about anyone.
Oh yeah.
It's like what you said. It's something to have good in the closet for if someone's kids come over, or if your friend is a little too inebriated and needs something to focus on to calm down. That's
Yeah.
easy.
Oh, drunk candy, that would be so awesome.
That's yeah.
I have like a special box for when my friends get a little too much. They've gone a little too far in whatever we do. And this is probably going underneath that box. So it'll have, like, I have fish toys and stuff in it, but Candyland's going to probably end up in that too.
I gave it a 2 for recommendation. I feel that there are definitely people who would benefit for owning this game, but not everyone. It's not really worth the storage space for everyone.
Right.
That's fair. It is a pretty standard sized board, so it does take up some room.
Like, I have pretty limited space on my shelves for board games. I'm not Larry. I don't have bookcases lining my walls filled with Funko Pops and board games. Everywhere.
Everywhere.
It infests the house.
He's a frequent guest on this podcast, I can say that.
Yes, we can.
I also gave it a 1 for replay value.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 3 as well.
I
I'm
gave it a
glad
3.
that.
Rishi gets a pass because it's the first time he's played it.
Yeah, it's
But-
still very novel.
I'm curious what you're thinking, Will.
So, as I said, the last time I played this was probably 20 years ago, thinking about it. He did
Great
pretty
school.
generous. I think I had probably about as much fun playing it this time as I did in grade school, which is,
Okay.
it's not a lot of fun, but it's consistent with how much fun I've had with it.
Okay,
And
that's fair.
I think that is a big part of replay value, is consistency with it. And even though I lost, I had a lot of fun losing.
We all had fun with you losing. I'll be honest.
I had a lot of fun with you losing, dude.
That was, yeah. No, that was
It
hilarious.
was comical.
Too perfect. All right, so what do we think? Classic versus innovative. I think we all know what our answer is, but
It's so innovative. No, it's classic.
Classic 3.
Yeah.
yeah.
It defined the genre for kids' games.
This style of game has kind of existed in one way or another for a long time. I was looking back when you mentioned doing Candyland. I was like, well, what if we do other games about like historical games? So I was looking back to into like Wikipedia and stuff on like the oldest board game we could find, and one of them was the Royal Game of Ur. Sorry.
Yes.
Where it has a similar pattern on a board where you follow around, except you also capture pieces, kind of like checkers.
Yeah. It's. Let me take this because I'm actually really interested in this game. I've wanted to cover it for a long time.
I was thinking about getting it and covering it. Yeah.
It's the oldest game to ever exist.
That's oldest game, playable game.
Playable, yeah. And to also be fair, the rules that we have right now are adapted from a much more complex version of the game that only had the rules for gambling.
Mhm.
And we had to reverse engineer the normal rules because everyone knew how to play it. So it's like Go Fish. But the whole concept is like you run a trading caravan. Those pieces are your like traders moving across the desert, and the idea is to move into certain. Each square does something different. You have that centerpiece, and I'm getting way too into this history of games.
Oh, it was very interesting when I looked
The
into
history,
it.
the history of board games is a easy spot to find, so like go for it.
Oh yeah.
It also uses a 4-sided dice,
Yeah.
not 6.
And here's the other cool thing about the 4-sided die. It's not actually like 4 square. You roll 4 of them, and you can get a maximum of a 4 because 2 sides are painted, and 2 sides aren't, and you add the painted sides together.
Okay,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
that's pretty cool.
Fun fact.
Yeah, it is. It's all very cool. Which also means you could get a 0 too.
It does. It does mean you can get a 0 and you can just not move at all. But you also don't have to move one piece. You can move one piece 3 squares and then move another piece 1 square.
Or onto the board. Yeah, we'll cover it at some point.
Please.
Yeah.
This sounds really fun, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone else knows about this, so I'm not just like pitching random games.
But as all I was saying was that classic style of moving in one direction over a board is one of the oldest concepts in gaming to ever exist. That said, Candyland is also probably the most well-known currently version of that, next to maybe Chutes and Ladders.
I don't think it's a lot like Chutes and Ladders. I'll be honest.
But I mean,
Chutes
that's,
and Ladders is more difficult.
yeah, Chutes and Ladders does require like dice and everything, but I feel like if you strip away all of the sort of complexity of Chutes and Ladders, you get Candyland.
Yeah, if you take everything.
Well, you just take down the down chutes. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Because
get
there are
rid of the
up
down-
chutes in Candyland.
Yeah, there were ladders.
Yeah.
They're not upshoots.
Those
They're
are
called ladders.
Ladders.
Shoots.
And can I just talk about this Mandela effect real quick? Who remembers Snakes and Ladders?
Dude,
That
yeah.
was an off-brand, I think.
No. So I
Oh, no,
had
no,
to look
that's
into it.
SpongeBob.
That was an indie.
No, that's
No,
Eels and Escalators.
Oh, dang.
Snakes and Ladders is like what I had growing up at my preschool. And then I went to elementary school, and everyone had Chutes and Ladders. And I was just like, why'd they get rid of the snakes?
Yeah.
I think it's just a branding thing.
And SpongeBob was what? Eels and escalators?
Yeah.
Because snakes are scary, and children don't like scary things.
Well, depending on the child.
Most children. Most children are easily frightened. They're cowards.
Let us dance.
We've all been to children's birthday parties as children. There was always the one kid, bring out the snakes.
I was that kid. I was the kid who, when the guy came with the birthday animals, he's like, "Who wants to hold the tarantula?" And I was like, "Me, I do."
I want it. He will be my best friend.
I used to have this one that used to come to my parties that had earwigs that he'd put on you, like giant earwigs.
I think those are centipedes.
No, they would look like somewhere in between a cockroach and them. I'll look it up.
That's terrifying.
But he would like put them near your ears.
Nope. No, thank you.
No, that's.
Hey, it's a misconception. They don't actually do anything to your
No.
ears.
They that's exactly what someone who's infested already would say. Way out of my head.
It's a real earworm. All right. Any more notes on classic? I know I took up a bunch of that time.
No.
I think we all did.
Yeah, it's. I feel like it's the same thing with the next one. Is it simple or complex? Whoa!
Oh.
Shocker of the century.
I think this is a very complicated game.
There
It
are
requires
layers.
a lot of planning
You have to count it too.
This thing is a
I-
casserole.
and remember colors.
Yeah.
So I gave it a simple 3. In
Yeah.
hindsight, I might have given it a simple 2. And for the reason I mentioned before, there's no actual strategy here. It is
Okay.
literally just random numbers.
Right.
You could run this through a random number generator and get the same effect for Candyland. Just how many spaces you move. And if you land on a space, you lose a turn. If you pull another card, you go sent back to a certain point. And that's just home rules for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we did also add some other home rules towards the end, but
If we
Overall.
hadn't added the part where you go back if you get one of the ones that are further down, these games would have been about 5 to 10 minutes, and it would have been over real quick.
Yeah.
yeah. Again, I do want to throw out this is a game intended for 3-year-olds.
I know.
Preschool. I get cake.
It says 3+ on the box.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going off of.
Well, it's because they can.
It literally says preschool on the box.
Yeah, it does.
I think there is such a thing as too simple.
That's fair.
I used to work as an assistant teacher for a Montessori school. Montessori believed in the fact that children are smarter than we give them credit for. I worked with preschoolers, and I had some that could do hundreds number times tables. They're certainly very capable of forming basic strategy. I think this isn't giving them enough credit to say this is the only kind of game a 3-year-old can play.
This is true. In the education sphere, I always thought of this more as a matching. So like 3 being honestly a cap for me, where they're able to learn colors in a way that isn't flashcards, and to be able to reason and find the colors. Like you have to skip count a little bit to find where the pattern is. But I do agree with you on that. It's definitely very simple, and I understand why I put a 3 just because from where I'm coming from, but from your Montessori background, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I just believe that you don't need to speak down to a kid.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Talk to a child as if they're a human.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many people don't.
No, I'm well aware.
And I think it's harmful, honestly, to education.
You're telling me. I see it every day. So, Rishi, before we wrap up, I do want to know, this is the first time you played this. What did you think? What were your thoughts?
My thoughts? I kind of get it, like why it's been around. It's been such a mainstay. It was super simple to play. I'm kind of a moron when it comes to board games and all that sort of stuff. So I was actually really worried. Like, part of me was like worried. Like, is there going to be something that I don't get? Is there going to be anything? But then I really underestimated just how kiddie it was going to be. And I was actually relieved.
Took the stress off.
Took the stress way off. But I dug it, and I kind of wish I played it more as a kid. I kind of understand what the appeal is, and I don't know, it's just fun. It's just a nice way to pass time with some friends.
We're glad to have you on.
Yeah.
I did have some notes on this too. I mean, score-wise, it does very well, and I feel like it's because it's very basic, and that does very well in our score system. But
this might be one of my
as a
lowest
person,
scores.
Was your lowest?
Not my lowest, but one up.
Oh, I mean, I gave. So would you want to do scores real quick?
Yeah.
I gave it 34,
Mine was a 33.
which certainly is not my lowest.
Oh
But
no, I know my lowest. My lowest was a 27.
It's my fault.
Correct.
I give it a 37, which is pretty decent. That's one of the
That's a
higher
higher one, yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I gave it a 40. I kind of classified in the same vein as I would classify something like Mario Party, where I don't think there's skill involved, but it's just the chaos of seeing things unfold. There's just that appeal to it, and especially with what happened with poor Will towards the end, where no matter how much we tried, we literally kept on going and going and going and going and going and go anywhere. Much to your chagrin, but it was a very, very fun sort of stretch of time. So I always dig stuff like that, and that's why I rated it pretty high.
I'm glad that my suffering could bring someone momentary entertainment.
I had a rough day, man, so it lifted my spirits up very, very
A
high.
healthy dose of Schadenfreude.
Yes. Do it to myself, man.
Well, thank you for coming with us on this special historical board game review. It's definitely not our typical pick, but sometimes it's nice to look back on games that started the gaming spark. Thank you again to Rishi for being here with us. We're currently limiting our use on Twitter for some very personal reasons, but you can find us there at Dancing with the Bards. We are going to be trying to be more present on other sites, so our Twitch is with Bards. We do have a TikTok at Dancing with the Bards. And we're also going on to Mastodon at dancingwiththebardscrater.gg. Crater is spelled CR8R.gg. Thank you again for everyone for listening in. Bye.
Goodbye.
I love you.
Goodbye.
I miss you.
Bye.
Never
Farewell. Not the gumdrop buttons.
Anything but the gumdrop buttons.